this week on The Quad. Our Emily is back with lots of reporting about what's going on in the Islamic Republic of Iran. We're going to be taking a tour of the Middle East and checking out now what is our 8th-front war, God help us. And as every week, lots of scumbags, lots of heroes, only on JNS, only on The Quad. Welcome back, everybody, to The Quad. And I'm so thrilled that our soul sister, Emily Schrader, is back from a tour of She'll Tell Us All About It. In the studio, journalist, human rights activist, and Shoshana Keats-Jaskell, the founder of Chokhmat Nashim. Look it up, everyone. She's fighting for Orthodox women in all spaces. Ladies, great to be back.
For all women.
I mean,
for all women.
For all women. We're missing our 4th leg, but that will be coming very soon. But in the meanwhile, the trio is back on The Quad. Okay, we have so much to talk about because it seems that every single week something is falling apart in the Middle East, which could be good for us, could be bad for us. Emily, you are Miss Iran as far as we're concerned. And so I want to ask you, the reports in the last 24 hours, 48 hours are actually encouraging. Is this the end of the Islamic Republic of Iran? Emily?
I mean, I sure hope so.
What's going on?
We'll have to see. But yeah, I mean, as you stated, I don't want to give away my scumbag because my scumbag is related to that this week. Okay. I know it's a surprise.
Don't give it away, but give us an analysis.
Yeah, they're having a huge issue now with the power. There's no energy.
Why?
So basically, because the IRGC has taken over almost all of that industry over the last few months. It's been a gradual process over time, but in the last few months, it's really increased.
It's taken over what? The electrical industry?
All of the energy.
All of the energy. I mean,
the power
this is one of
everything.
the biggest countries of production that has petrol, that has, unrefined petrol. And they never develop refining facilities. And they sell their unrefined petrol, right?
Right.
So what's going on?
I mean, they haven't been able to do anything, and everything that they have sold, they've given away either the resources that they're getting or the energy itself to countries like Venezuela or terrorist organizations like the Houthis in Yemen.
Yes.
So all of their resources are being exported mostly to terror groups, and there's nothing left for the Iranian people, and that's what we see happening now. As of last night, 17 power stations do not have enough to run at all in the country.
Wow.
Only some of the country has heating. All the government offices are shut down. All of the universities are shut down. Schools are shut down. Supermarkets are shut down.
There's no electricity.
It's almost like an entire... They've sanctioned themselves. That's what's happening. They've sanctioned themselves. So they literally don't have enough to keep the lights on. And yet still you see... Khamenei ranting on social media
the end
about
of
Israel.
But one second, let's just pull it back. Wouldn't this be the optimal moment for the people of Iran, now that they've got essentially the backing of the Western powers because of the domino effect of the October 7th, wouldn't this be the optimal moment to say, now we have to rise up?
Yeah, but I mean, I think that the Iranian people have been pretty crushed. Even throughout the last year, a lot of people don't know. They've been on mass execution sprees. There are a lot of people who are on death row now, even for protests during, after Masa Amini, after the morality police killed Masa Amini. So they're really, really an oppressed population, especially right now. And the regime is doing that on purpose, of course.
Yeah,
Every time Israel has struck Iran, or there's been a suspicion of Israel striking Iran, I've gotten messages from people inside of Iran telling me how the IRGC and the security forces are on the streets because they expected the people to rise up in response and in support of Israel. So they know what's coming. They're aware of what the risks are. But yeah, I mean, now it's another cog in the wheel of overthrowing this regime.
The beginning of the end. Do you think the Biden administration in the 3 weeks it has left, Shoshana, would give their hand to this at this point?
No, I don't think they're going to do anything of the sort. I think they're going to ride out the rest of this administration because, I was listening to a podcast this morning and it's true. It's like Trump is pretty much almost the president already, in terms of changing policy. Yeah, he's changing foreign policy. You can't deny the fact that Trump coming out and saying all hell will break loose if you don't have our hostages. It definitely, lit a fire under the hostage negotiations. And I think he just put out yesterday another statement, we're going to kill you all or something if you don't get the hostages back. And as much as I think, okay, it's rhetoric we need. It's rhetoric we need. And
it helps.
to answer your question, I don't think Biden's going to do anything. I think that Biden's just going to ride out the rest of his presidency and hope for the best. Maybe a hostage deal is the best thing he might get. But I was thinking, I wish what Israel could do is like all those routes that was coming out of Iran and through Syria and Lebanon, the weapons that were going to them. Like I wish we could use those routes to like get weapons to the people and like let them overthrow the Iranian regime, because like what would be better about like than ending this year with a free Iranian people with no regime? Like, I mean, hallelujah, praise. Like that would be the best ending to this secular year.
The downfall of the Assad regime has basically opened up that corridor for Israel to attack unhindered.
You know what else I think is important to add? You asked if it was the optimal time for the Iranian people to rise up. Yes, there is that aspect. But in addition to that, it's the optimal time for us to respond. And that's why you saw, Mossad Chief Barnea yesterday or today saying that Israel should respond to the attacks from the Houthis, the ballistic missiles that have been waking us up at 3:40 in the morning to respond to Iran. To respond directly to Iran.
Absolutely. I mean, they threw, let's just recap. On Shabbat, at early hours of the morning, the Houthis threw a ballistic missile in the middle of Tel Aviv in Jaffa.
Yeah.
What country in the world puts up with that without retaliating? Now, what happened? The Americans and I think the British retaliated. So they may be saying to Israel, hang on, we're attacking for you, because they're annoyed about the Red Sea routes. It's because that's affecting everyone. It's affecting everybody's economy.
Right. It shouldn't just be Israel fighting this fight.
Exactly. But are we seeing the beginning of an allyship when the West is waking up to the fact that we have an opportunity now with the Islamic Republic? That opening that Syria has provided.
But I don't see any, I don't see any of this. Like, do you hear any Western leader speaking out even against the Iranian regime? Like, I feel like they're weirdly accepting or just like still want to play nice. Like, why don't they see when you live in the Middle East, and I am still very American, but when you live in the Middle East, you understand weak attack. Like that's you see someone who's weak and you attack and you get rid of your enemy. So that's what the Israelis, that's what the head of the Mossad is saying. Like, hello, like he's down, put him out, knock him out. And I think that you just have to be willing to do that, which is scary because nobody really wants to no world leader wants to take out another world leader. It's kind of a thing of like, well, if
Khamenei wants to take out Trump.
Yes.
Well, okay, but he's not
try to kill him.
No normal world leader, no king wants to regicide, right? Like it's kind of a thing, like it's a theme. Like if you're gonna
hit the king, you gotta knock out the king.
But then you're saying it's legitimate to hit the king. That's what I'm saying.
I got it. But I honestly think that we have enough of a causus bellis, as they say in Latin, to go now for Iran, to the Islamic Republic of Iran. We have the open corridor.
What would you do?
Get rid of the leadership the way that we did in
just take them out.
Take out the leadership.
And
our IRGC sites, target the Iranian nuclear program.
Energy.
But perhaps we can't do that alone.
Let's do it.
Sure.
We can't do that alone. We can't attack the nuclear program alone because we don't have the bunker-busting bombs that America has.
We don't?
We don't.
Or we don't have enough.
Or we don't have enough, or we don't have that many to carry, or we can't carry them.
I guess we'll find out when Trump takes office.
That's true.
Yes, but this is my concern, is that Trump has never, and in fact, I think he said the opposite. Regime change in Iran is not a goal of his administration.
Yeah, but I also
think this is the moment.
A bit of politicking, because it's not for the United States to decide there's going to be regime change. It's for the Iranian people.
Yes.
And so I actually thought,
they've decided they just can't do it, right?
Yeah, I actually think at this point it was wise of him to say that, it's not up to me to make regime change, but it is up to him to enable the conditions for regime change.
Interesting.
So I'm hopeful that he does that. And a lot of Iranians have said explicitly, like, we don't need the West to make regime change. We need the West to stop propping up the regime.
Yes.
And that's exactly what the U.S. and Europe have done for 45 years.
Yes.
Stop supporting their oppressors. That's all you have to do.
Bags of cash go into the Islamic Republic of Iran directly from the Americans and through Iraq every month.
Yep.
Do people understand this?
No, I don't think people, no, absolutely not.
Didn't we learn now our lesson from Hamas that you don't pay protection money to jihadi
mafia
terrorists that want to kill you? I mean, when are we going to learn our lesson? I don't understand what the point.
Well, I think this one is not our lesson to learn. This is the West's lesson to learn.
Yeah.
And they've been
we learned it the hard way.
When it comes to dealing with Iran for 45 years. So I hope that they learn their lesson now, because that's really what needs to happen.
So what's interesting to me also, and maybe we can talk about, is what's going on with these countries kind of on the fence playing both games, like Turkey. What's going on with Turkey in Syria? They are apparently now starving and stopping water from going in to the Kurdish part of Syria.
And we see encampments popping up
Yes.
everywhere.
Everywhere.
Solidarity.
And the ICC,
Oh, wait, no, that
the
didn't
ICC has put out an arrest warrant for Erdogan
Yes.
for starving
And
the
Bashar Assad.
Syrian Kurds. No, none of that is happening because they're not Jews. But let's talk a little bit about what's going on in Syria, because I feel a lot of people, and we've tried to elucidate on this show about Syria. I interviewed my friend Zaim Al-Salum, who is incredible. We're going to be having Rowan next week, hopefully, who talks to us a little bit about Syria. There's, differing views on AlAlani. Should we trust him? We shouldn't trust him. But let's talk about Turkish influence.
He's changed his name now.
Again.
What's his name?
Ahmed al-Shara.
Al-Shara. Yeah, good. Because
Yeah.
AlAlani
He's rebranding.
was very
Yes,
close to
literally.
very close to Al-Golani. Golan is kind of our territory. Anyway, so the point is, what's happening with the Kurds on the border?
Right.
Israel has always traditionally supported the Kurds, the PKK, etc. What should Israel be doing? And what is the game of Erdogan here? What is his game? What is he doing? And world, when they're starving the Kurds and they're not sending water and people are basically dying of thirst, where are you?
I think that Turkey has always had its own interests at heart. There's no question. I mean, nobody really talks about the fact that they occupy half of Cyprus. Nobody notices that.
And then there's that whole Armenian genocide. But
no one talks about that.
It's illegal in Turkey to talk about the Armenian genocide.
Right, but it's a free democratic country. I think that Turkey is taking advantage. Whatever Turkey's accusing us of, you can be sure that Turkey's doing. Exactly. Just so you know, if you want to know, they're taking advantage of the chaos of what's going on in Syria. They've already pushed in. They've already taken over villages. They've already killed civilians. And the Kurds have always been the traditional enemy of the Turks, right? Because the Kurds want their own, they want independence, shocking. And the Turks have taken every advantage of the chaos in Syria for many, many years to, unfortunately, kill as many Kurdish people as possible.
And entire areas. Yes, that's right, yeah.
So what should Israel's game be in terms of Syria? It's such a complicated mess. We don't even know if it's going to be one sovereign country in the end, because there's so many different ethnic groups and different tribes and different nationalities within this crazy construct called Syria. That the question is, what is Israel's stance towards Turkey? Should we be poking the bear? Should we be kind of saying this is other people's war and we should worry about our own borders? I mean, myself, I'd be quite happy if we just stayed in the Hermon, in the Syrian side of Hermon. I would prefer that it was a really good ski resort rather than a demilitarized zone, to be honest. But really, what should Israel's stance be when it comes to Syria, Emily?
Well, I think that Israel has a job to protect itself first and foremost, whatever that means. If that means taking certain territories and occupying them and, in order to protect Israeli civilians, then that's what we need to do. I don't think we should concern ourselves with the end game of Syria because it's not a problem. Right. However, I think the West needs to stand up to Turkey much, much more. I think there needs to be a considerable push to remove Turkey from NATO. Absolutely. Turkey is an Islamist state. Yeah. They are actively assisting and aiding terrorist organizations like Hamas. They have been for many years. It's outrageous that they're in NATO in the first place, and they should be kicked out of NATO.
I don't understand what they're still doing in NATO. It's an own goal for the West and for liberal values. I just don't understand.
Switch for the Ukraine.
They still do that. Also, they got involved in Libya. They get involved wherever there's a crack.
Erdogan is kind of like... He's kind of like Putin in this regard. He has an obsession with this idea of an empire that he doesn't have anymore.
Ottoman Empire.
And he hasn't woken up that the Ottoman Empire fell.
He has over 100 years ago.
Delusion of expanding across, the territory that was previously the Ottoman Empire. And when we see that in his behavior, it's an expansionist, imperialist, oppressive, ethnic cleansing ideology. Yeah. And he has to be stopped.
And no one recognizes it, though. That's the part that I don't understand. Why does no one recognize what Turkey is doing when it's taking territory, when it's killing people, when it's ethnically cleansing people? Why do the Kurds not matter? And you asked, what should we do? No, I think there's an ethical, moral,
Yeah.
ideal answer to that. And then I think there's a very practical one.
Yeah.
Right? So
Realpolitik.
Ideally, I would love to arm the Kurds. I mean, not that any of this is up to me. I'm not making any policy decisions. I mean, ideally, I think Israel should stand up for those who want to be independent and to defend themselves and who are being ethnically cleansed because of who they are. Practically speaking, I don't know all the moves right now. Like, I don't know what doing that, where will that be in the domino effect of other things? I don't know. I don't have the answers to that. But I would love to see us stand up for the Kurds. But
Well, I think that Emily's correct. I think we have to first and foremost protect our own borders. There's so many fights and layers, and we have already a 7-front war, which has now become an 8-front war, with Syria and the danger of Islamists on our border, which thankfully we've managed to pull out the entire. They were like a decrepit air force that they had, their navy, and their chemical weapons.
Yeah, thank God.
Which, by the way, if that's protecting the Kurds and the regular innocent Syrian people, it's us taking out the weapons of mass destruction that that we don't know which actors. We don't know. We want to give this AlAlani a chance, which is another debate that we're seeing not just on social media, but we're seeing it in the media. Should we give AlAlani
Because I
a
don't
chance?
think we're giving him a chance. Like Israel?
I disagree.
What do you mean?
Israel, what we're doing, we took out everything. Yeah, sure, we'll
Yes.
give you a
Oh,
chance.
you
We're
mean
gonna
the
occupy territory
aircraft.
and eliminate the entire military.
Well,
We're not,
Good luck.
but we're not. Yeah, but we're not really going
We're not
frontal
attacking him, yeah.
against
him.
AlAlani
Yeah.
and his
Organization.
sort of push to centralize or to bring some type of unity within the Syrians. I don't think we're doing that, and I think it's smart not to do it because, yes, he is a jihadist, but let's not turn him into an enemy. He's not there yet.
So I'll tell
This
you
is a
something.
controversial opinion, by the way.
Yeah.
There was in our community we had little TED Talks on Friday night, and one of the people I spoke, and then when another person spoke, he's in Israeli intelligence, and he spoke about what's going on in Syria, and he said something that I don't even know if you guys know. I don't know if he knows because he's in the intelligence. Maybe I just don't know because I don't pay attention. But he said that what happened on October 7th is what happened in Syria. They learned from October 7th. They learned from Hamas. But he started to describe it. Before he said that, he said, this is what happened. And he said they went to the border, full-on attack, aerial, underneath, over. They took out the lookouts. They took out this. And he's like, does that sound familiar to you? They learned from October 7th what was successful, and they did that in Syria. And he said any organization that can learn that in a year and pull it off successfully is an organization you have to worry about.
Of course.
So he said nobody really knows what this guy wants or what he doesn't want. Because on the one hand, he's talking about, wanting to bring peace and blah, blah, blah. On the other hand, he's saying, don't take a picture with me if you don't have your head covered, which really shows that he is an Islamist, which he does have a
$10
world.
million bounty on his head.
Right.
Yes.
So,
Oh, wait, not anymore.
so it's
Been
not
removed? The Americans
US
removed
removed
it?
Did they?
Oh, wow.
So
I wonder who's supporting him.
Wow.
to say that it's not, to say that we should give him a chance, I think is a little bit naive. I think we should watch warily and see what he's going to do. But anyone, again, any organization that can do something like that and take over and kill that regime within 11 days or whatever it was, really needs to be watched. It's not, you just can't be kumbaya.
No,
Yeah.
I definitely don't think that we can trust anyone in this game. He has to be watched. But I think to turn him into an enemy right now when he's getting his own country in order, maybe a little premature. Let's save
We've had stranger bedfellows.
when we've gotten rid of the 6, 7 fronts, shall we?
Right.
Maybe
It would be
that's what we
great to
should
go to
do.
Syria.
I know. I would love to go to Syria, even to report. Well, I'll have to work on that.
Well, you went into Gaza and you've been into Lebanon, Emily. Come on,
I
don't
haven't
get
been
greedy.
into Lebanon.
Oh, really?
I was only on the Lebanese
On the
border. I
border,
was
okay.
supposed to go in the same week that there was unfortunately, the passing of that elderly
Oh, the archaeologist?
reservist. Yeah, the archaeologist who went in,
yes.
and so they canceled all the journalists entering Lebanon, which
Well, I'm glad for your
disappointing that-
safety at least.
Yeah, it was also a very dangerous area. But I wanted to add to what you said about the Kurds. I'm not so sure we should be arming the Kurds. I have no problem if they want to have a Kurdistan that does not include Iran. I'm very, very specific about that. I don't care what they want to do. And actually, a lot of Iranian Kurds don't want to live with the Iraqi and Syria. They don't even speak the same language. So there is some tension there. Of course, there are a few people who think otherwise, but it's a lot of times exaggerated. But I think the risk of arming the Kurds is like very, very high because all of the other groups in Syria, and it's so unstable. And we've also seen similar things in Iraq when people have armed the Kurds in the past. So it's not as clear cut. I actually, not that I've ever formally advocated this, but even arming the Iranian people, I think, would be lower risk than arming the Kurds because we're pretty clear on what the consensus of the Iranian people want to do. Even if we have to deal with the after effects, at least we're dealing with after effects that's not a nuclear power.
True.
If they actually take out the Islamic regime. And the Kurds, we have no idea where it's going to go, if they're going to get overtaken. You know, it's much more high risk. So I'm not sure. I'm just not sure about the issue with the Kurds.
Also, there's zero consensus on anything in Syria right now.
Yeah.
And so, again, I mean, we get dragged into these fights, but really, we just want peace. We just want to be left alone. Just respect our borders, respect our sovereignty, and you won't hear from us again. Like I interviewed a wonderful reservist who wrote a book about October 7th. He says, we just want a boring life, people. We just want a boring life. Let us have a boring life.
Right.
And now for our very popular segment, which has also turned into a form of therapy for us here. Scumbag of the Week. And I know how popular it is because we have had so many people writing in to our quads scumbags at gmail.com account. Very funny emails. So I know that you're all watching and I know that you all feel it's therapy for you too.
Yes.
And we will be announcing those at the end of the year and we can't wait. But let's stick to this week now. And Emily, you've been away and I know you've missed this segment. Even though you live
so many scumbags.
Every day there's so many accumulated scumbags for you to get out of your system. But I wanted to focus on just one for this week.
It's really hard.
I know.
It's really hard, but Khamenei.
Yeah.
Unoriginal, but he's been particularly awful in the last 24 hours alone.
So what has he done which is more awful than what he's done for the last 30 years?
I don't know that it's more awful, but it's up there.
It's up there.
As I mentioned, Iran is in complete free fall economically and pretty much in every other way.
Yes.
And even while this is happening, the people of Iran have no power in the majority of the country. Even in the last 24 hours, he's been all over Twitter, which of course, or X, sorry, which is banned in his country for the actual.
And also, he can charge his phone, so he must.
Yeah, he's got electricity. Yeah.
So he's tweeting about how anyone who supports riots in Iran, the Iranian nation will rise up. I'll let the Iranian people respond to that one. And then he's been going on and on about how they've been victorious in their proxy war, while also saying, 24 hours ago that there are no proxies. Right. Nice community note on that one. And going on to say how the Zionists are trying to show they're victors and how have they destroyed Hamas and how have they won in Gaza. Dude, I think we're doing pretty okay.
Yeah.
We've completely wiped out Hezbollah leadership. We've wiped out all of the Hamas leadership, including on your soil inside of Iran on an IRGC base. We took out Khamenei. We took out thousands of Hezbollah leaders by blowing up their hands or eyes or other particular body parts. Hezbollah has been completely decimated. We cut off all of the shipping routes. We've destroyed completely and kicked you out through other people of Syria and destroyed all of the routes to smuggle in weapons and other materials to your favorite proxy Hezbollah in Lebanon. And we've also been targeting Islamic Jihad both in the West Bank and in Gaza, and so has the Palestinian Authority security forces. So I'm pretty sure you're not doing that great. And when it comes to the Houthis, pretty much the only proxy or major proxy that's left of the Islamic Republic, they've been taking it from the US, the UK, and Israel all this week. So probably not the best time to be talking about how Israel isn't the victor. In this whole equation, you're not doing so well, bro. So maybe cool it with the tweets.
Well, he's definitely a scumbag, but hopefully he's a scumbag.
Hopefully
in
this
free
is the
fall.
last week that we ever have to talk about.
Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be amazing? What a wonderful Hanukkah / Christmas / New Year gift for the world.
For the world.
For the world.
Amen.
Shoshana, who is your scumbag this week?
My scumbag is someone who I've every time I see her tweet, it makes me so nauseous. And I don't follow her, but for some reason she pops up. Elon Musk, what's up with that? Why do I keep seeing this woman?
Yes.
So I realized that obviously the universe wants me to out her. So her name is Mariam Barghouti. And she calls herself a journalist and policy analyst. just made Emily choke.
Yes. She calls herself. That's,
Well, she
that's
does.
shade, sister. That's shade. I love that.
I don't know what she's journalized. Just she's making up her own freaking world. This woman tweets the weirdest, like the most insane lies about Israel. Israeli snipers are stationed and shooting. They even grabbed injured Palestinians who was by the WHO delegation. They're demanding that wounded babies, everyone evacuate. And the last time they demanded this, they ended up executing children of medical staff.
I'm sorry.
First of all, learn English, journalist.
I mean, rogue regime of psychopathy. Did I say that? Psychopathy by all standard. Rogue, psychopathic woman. You are psychopathic. You are literally in a fantasy world. Israelis shooting, executing children.
That's Hamas's
really?
bag.
This is like, you're just in your own la-la land, and calling yourself a journalist is like icing on the cake. I'm sorry, lady. You're in a fantasy world, and your 182,000 followers, guys, either you're bots, or you're not normal, or they're trolling her. Because if you look at the replies to this, it's like the best of all the gifts of this. It's fantastic. So she's my scumbag of the week because she's really off her rocker, but really it's every week.
That, you know what? You get 182,000 followers when you hate Israel and Jews so much.
It's
There are
easy.
people who have literally nothing to say. All they do is hate on Israel and
make
hate
up
on
lies.
Jews.
Oh,
and
like
they have
Candace
a following.
Owens?
Candace Owens. Why do you think she's doubling down?
Why do you think Pierce was on her show? I mean, come on.
No, that doesn't make any
Piers
sense.
is- to me, Piers has lost the plot.
Not only did he have her on, he was on her show.
That's
Did
ridiculous.
you see that?
Yes. That's
Do they just
ridiculous.
lose their minds after all the lights
Well,
for a while?
you know what? I interviewed this week Karis Ria, and I actually think Piers is dangerously close to becoming the woke right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
To being the woke right?
Yeah, the woke right. It's all about Tucker Carlson and how much he hates Israel and this whole America first and blaming us for
Everything?
For everything. And this Candace Owens, of course, Tucker Carlson is way more dangerous. Watch the episode where watch the interview where I interview Karis, because it's actually very concerning. To me, it's very concerning. But I honestly think that Piers is getting dangerously close to this.
I don't think he should be. I mean, you know, it's his show. But
Yeah.
I just think it's a waste of airtime to have someone that's so, because the same with Bassem Youssef. It's not founded in reality.
No.
You know, like
No.
these viewpoints. It's
No.
not legitimate criticism or discussion. It's conspiracy based on like pulling random things that are out of context from every direction. There's
people eat it
nothing
up. But they're
credible
all
or act because
they're
it's hating
all-
Jews.
They're all
Hate
conspiracy.
cells.
But he's platforming conspiracy theorists now.
Right,
The
it's not
whole
okay.
year. I mean, that Balzerian saying that the Jews are responsible for the transgender world. I mean, that's pretty cuckoo. That's crazy. Stop it. Stop platforming.
Agreed. Stop
these
platforming these
crazy
people. Yeah.
conspiracy theorists who would have been in a nut house 50 years ago. Okay.
Or at least,
Actually,
at
yes.
the very least, ignored.
Ignored and in a nut
Like,
house.
let's actually have discussions and debate
Yeah.
with crazy people.
I'm happy to debate anybody who doesn't agree with my perspective, but
Yeah.
that person has to have some type of credibility or authority to speak about that subject.
Yes,
Don't
agreed.
bring cuckoos just because they get you hits. It's ridiculous.
agreed.
All right. Rant over. Thank you so much. That's a fantastic scumbag. And I'm going the Emily path with another world leader called Erdogan, who is unfortunately the leader of Turkey for way too long. Probably rigged the last election. We don't know that for sure, but you know, he didn't really have a lot of opposition. But you know, there is a chance that maybe next time he won't win, because there are some pretty strong people coming up against him now. But why is he my scumbag this week? Well, first of all, he's starving, as we mentioned, and he's also not allowing water to go into Syria and Kurdistan. Of course, the world don't consider him as dangerous as Gallant and as Bibi. The ICC are sleeping because, of course, if you're not Israel and you're not Jewish, then they have nothing to go against
do what you want.
for.
Yeah.
But let's not forget who this guy is. This guy came in, when he came in, I think it was now 15 years ago, he came in as a supposed moderate. And again, this is like a cautionary tale. He's a Muslim Brotherhood member, ideology, but he came in fooling America and even Israel, thinking that, okay, he was the light form of the Muslim Brotherhood, that maybe we can live with. Maybe he can, yes, be a light, an Islamist light. And what he's done is essentially, using his NATO membership status, he's gone against Israel. At every given moment, he goes against Greece, a member of the European Union and a good friend of Israel and a respectable member of the European Union, as I said. He has put his nose into Libya and try to push out any other Eastern Mediterranean country from the roots, try and take all that economic prosperity that could arise from Libya for himself. He doesn't miss an opportunity to call Bibi Hitler or, completely malign the Jewish people. He is allied himself in his own country with the outright anti-Semites. There's no nuance anymore about this guy. And I know that people try and justify it and say, well, the Turkish people, yes, many of the Turkish people are secular, and many of them are still the legacy of Ataturk, who brought an incredible legacy of secularism to the Arab world through his leadership of Turkey, completely pushing out all of the Islamists. But that's not where Turkey is anymore. And so maybe the Turkish military should say enough is enough with this guy, because he's getting us into trouble. But what the world should do is, A, kick him out of NATO and really kick him out of Syria. Unfortunately, that won't happen in a hurry.
We need to stop legitimizing these people. I
Everybody
feel like everyone's platforming really horrible people and legitimizing them. Not just Piers Morgan shows, but the world stage.
The world, yeah.
And I still think this guy gets too much airtime as a moderate when he clearly
he's not a moderate.
isn't.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
Yeah, you also just to add to that, there's the whole occupation.
Oh yeah.
Not the West Bank. Occupation
Greece?
of Cyprus.
Yes.
Yeah. So of course there's much more when it comes to
And nobody
to
talks
Erdogan.
about that,
talks about
even though it's in European soil.
Yep.
Nobody talks about that. They're not a member of the European Union, and yet the European Union never talks about that. And so here we have a bona fide scumbag that the world is yet again trying to whitewash and not hold him to account for all the scumbaggy things he's doing. And that is Turkey's Erdogan. So wake up, people. A really bona fide scumbag indeed. All right. And now to cleanse our souls from all the terrible people in the world, let's go into our heroes, the people who make us proud and the people who make us look up to them. Shoshana, who's your hero this week?
I know I've done the IDF before, but gosh, we've been so busy. So I have.
So have they.
Well, that's what I mean. I'm the pilot. So we have been. We responded to the Houthi attack. Yes, and we flew I don't remember how many planes and support planes and tankers to over to Yemen. Thank you, to respond to the Houthis. And one of the pilots was interviewed. He is Yemenite. He is
So a Yemenite Jew.
A Yemenite
Full circle.
Jewish pilot for the IDF. His grandfather had come on Operation Magic Carpet when all the Jews were airlifted out of, he came on an airplane, lifted out of Yemen. His grandfather.
Oh my God.
And he then is returning in an airplane to Yemen, but to defend the Jewish state to which his grandfather fled, which is so circular and beautiful. And he spoke about it to the New York Times. He spoke about it to the Times of Israel, and I just read the quote, and it was so beautiful, saying how my grandfather was taken out on a plane to a nascent Jewish state, and now here I am going back to defend the Jewish state, and we're strong, and it was just beautiful and meaningful, and that's the kind of thing that makes me smile.
Absolutely. A Yemenite pilot and a hero.
A hero defending the country.
Closing for a circle that is amazing.
Lovely. Very nice.
And to add to that, there was also one of the pilots. I know in the first strikes, there was a female pilot that took part in the strikes on Iran. Which is amazing.
Yes.
But also there was a female pilot that took part in this as well. Awesome. So it's a really beautiful reflection of Israel.
Against the misogynist jihadists, which apparently deserve the support of the woke left in American campuses.
By the way, that's another thing. The Houthis actually have not only child soldiers, but child brides.
Oh, they all have child brides.
The children
all
of Yemen
it's a huge
are
problem.
suffering terribly under the Houthis.
Yes.
And you have, like you said, on campuses, Houthis, one more bomb.
Yeah.
It's like, where
are they?
What?
No, they live in an alternative universe.
How are we?
Not to mention gay rights in Yemen. That's
Well, let's ask Mike
gay rights
Distant.
in Yemen.
Our friend Louis can tell us about that.
Yeah.
We'll get him on the show soon again.
Yeah.
So, Emily, who's your hero?
So my heroes this week, Valerie Hamati and Daniel Weiss.
So who are they?
Valerie she's an Arab-Israeli singer, and Daniel is a Jewish Israeli singer, and they're both competing for like a reality singing contest.
To be on Eurovision, no?
I'm not sure. Are they actually going to go with whoever wins?
That's what I saw.
That's, I think,
Okay.
it's
So
like
they're
the
competing for the Eurovision representation.
Feeder.
It's like the Eurovision American Idol, but it's Israeli Idol. Okay.
Right. I just did different years. It's different shows, right? Or sometimes they
think
choose
so.
separately.
I think
We're so good at pop culture. That's it.
We're clearly don't watch reality TV enough.
We don't watch TV.
However, Valerie Hamati teamed up with Daniel Weiss, who's actually her competition on this show, to perform October Rain, the song that was written for Edin Golan, the representative from last year. As we know, she was very badly bullied at Eurovision, both by the contestants and, of course, by the public. This poor girl wasn't allowed
and
to
the judges.
exit her hotel room even because of the security situation and the threats on her life, simply because she is Jewish and wanted to sing a song. And so to see the unity of an Arab Israeli together with a Jewish Israeli in this competition singing this song is really a powerful reflection of how the events of October 7th were not specific. Of course, it's an attack on the Jewish state, but a lot of the victims were not Jewish, and they are an important part of our society here in Israel. And I know Valerie has been very outspoken about that. I was actually with her when we went to the south, to the Gaza envelope communities, and she's really been quite outspoken, despite not being a political figure or anything like that. She's an artist, you know. To see her using her voice to stand up that way is really, really important and powerful. And to see the unity, even in the face of a fierce competition, because they're both fabulous singers, is really powerful.
It's super powerful. And even more than that, Emily, he's a survivor.
That's correct.
He's an orphan. He's an October 7th orphan.
Victim, were killed. So he's singing with his Arab colleague, and she's singing with this victim. You couldn't, honestly, that's the real Israel, people.
Yeah.
That's a real Israel.
Beautiful.
Worthy heroes indeed, Emily.
Beautiful.
And my heroes are kind of connected to the army. They are the two Mossad agents who were just interviewed on 60 Minutes. They were, of course, their voices were altered and their faces were covered because, come on. But they were talking about the beeper attack. And you know what I love about him? I mean, this beeper attack, I always complain that Israel never has strategy. But if we're going to look at strategy, this is strategy. The whole operation started 10 years ago, and they set up these shell companies. And they were explaining that we set up shell companies from shell companies from shell companies. So there's no way of tracing this back to Israel. They became the best beeper product in the market because, of course, the beeper market is not very saturated right now because we all have phones. So they became the best product in the market. They advertised it on Instagram as a waterproof beeper, a crash-proof beeper.
Rugged, manly.
And the best line in the whole thing, which we'll play, is, and they were also a good price.
Yeah. What was interesting?
This is Jewish thinking for you. Jewish business for you. We're not only inventive, we're not only innovative about the technology that can blow up in your face, and as Emily mentioned,
a good price.
In other bodily parts, which was just hilarious because, let's face it, they're all deadly terrorists who got this in their faces and other parts of their bodies. But just the way they explained it for me is like the best of Israel's innovation, inventiveness, the dare to attitude, the chutzpah,
and getting a sale.
But also sense of humor. It was a good price.
The operation started 10 years ago, not with pagers, but with weaponizing walkie-talkies.
A walkie-talkie was a weapon, just like a bullet or a missile or a mortar.
So a walkie-talkie bomb.
A walkie-talkie bomb. Inside the battery, there is an explosive device.
And that was the invention, to put an explosive device that couldn't be detected into the battery.
Correct. Made in Israel.
At Mossad?
Yes.
This is a good phrase.
So-
I mean, this whole attack was really like the epitome. It was kind of like almost a morale turning point in this
not
war
almost.
because
Yes,
after this, we
yes.
were like, still got it.
Yes. Deterrence.
100% correct. And after that is when we really started pouncing on Hezbollah. That's
right.
And then it followed it. It gave us that the shift in momentum, but also in a psychological war.
I want to point out also, and I think this is important because they did put up a shell company. They said they made like a Truman Show.
Yeah.
Like nobody had an idea. But what was really important for me, because I was thinking, well, how did other people not get the bad beepers? And they said when others asked for pricing, they just made it so high
That they wouldn't buy.
that nobody else bought from them. And I feel like that's just an important point to
Yes.
that nobody else was threatened, nobody else could have, God
No.
forbid, been hurt, only the terrorists.
It was completely
Yeah.
targeted to terrorists. And again, that was
best of us,
That
yeah.
was it's the best of us in so many ways. Not that we want to be known for attacking, but you know what? If you mess with us and you come to destroy us, and your whole purpose in life is to destroy the state of Israel and the Jewish people, you're gonna get it. We're gonna find you, and that's the moral of the story. And that's why they're my heroes. this
Listen
week.
up, Khamenei.
Exactly. And so as every week I feel that we're getting closer, and I'm praying we're getting closer to a deal on the hostages. We pray that by the time next week come along, those hostages are home with their families. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for watching.